Last night I threw the Rover up on the bench to start putting all the components back in it. I started with the long range UHF RC receiver. I connected that to the old APM using a single RC cable utilizing S-Bus. So RC channel 1 comes out of the RC receiver and goes into channel 1 on the APM autopilot, and signal pins for RC2 and 3 have to be shorted together to make the APM go into S-Bus mode. There's the old APM with the S-Bus channel going into RC1. There you can see the RC signal cable going into RC1. You can also see the signal pins from RC2 and 3 are shorted together to put the APM copilot into S-Bus mode. That way I don't have to run 8 wires over from the RC receiver to this input section of the autopilot. Here you can see the forward marker on the autopilot. I've actually got it upside down, and I am going to face it forward. Right now it is facing towards the receiver. I'm going to put a longer cable on there, move that receiver to the back instead of the front because I want the camera on the front. So to do that, I have to come in to the configuration section, full parameters list, come down to AHRS orientation, and so the board is facing forward after I change it, and it is rolled over on its back. So that would be a roll of 180 right here. So if I come in here, put an 8 in here, and hit tab, that should tell the autopilot, let's make sure it did, that should tell the autopilot no, that should tell the autopilot that it is rolled over 180, and that's all that should have to be done. So that takes care of that. So I'm putting double-sided tape on the back of these, and I'm tie wrapping them through the upper lid of that Tupperware container, whatever it is. And I'm bringing the GPS signal wire in here. There's the 2 ends sticking through, which I will reconnect to the autopilot on this side. I broke out the solder station. I really love this solder station. The heat gun on the side of it is really controllable to the degree, and the airflow through it's controllable. The soldering iron part of it, the soldering iron isn't broken in, so my old soldering iron works so much better than this one at this point, but I've had that soldering iron for 40 years, so this one will get broken. This soldering iron will be great. I can't recommend one of these solder stations enough. I put a little shrink wrap on the wires that come over from the current voltage sensor from the battery connector to the autopilot, and shrink wrapped it down as a strain relief. The GPS cables that I had hooked back up, they also come in there. I put 2 strain reliefs on those. They have really fine wires. Just don't want anything to happen. Strain reliefs are really easy to do. I did likewise on the wires for the telemetry radio. Just kind of put them underneath the tie wrap and tighten them down so those have a strain relief. I'm just really big on strain reliefs. So there's the whole bottom side, RC receiver, autopilot, battery input with current and voltage sensor, telemetry radio, GPS, all installed on the underside of the top for the Tupperware bowl. I am going to go ahead and move that RC receiver to the other side and put a longer cable on it. This is the top with the telemetry radio on the other side, the GPS on this side. Everything else is actually underneath. And this is the completed unit put back together and ready for testing. It does not have any FPV equipment on it at all right now. No video transmitter and no camera. That's all there is to most FPV systems. But I'm going to test it and stuff and then put the camera and the video transmitter on it later. Manual test seems to be good. More later. So it took me about 50 minutes, just a little less than an hour to do all this. There's not a whole lot to figure out here, and all this was really kind of put together. I'd just taken the top off the Tupperware container and taken the components off of it when I wanted to use them in other places. Now that I got this APM back in, again, it wasn't useful on the antenna tracker, so I said, won't waste it, just put the Rover back together. Then I'll have a working Rover. I kept having to cannibalize the Rover for copter and airplane parts. And it was just nice to have a complete Rover I don't have to touch anymore. So there it is. Long range antennas on the back for the UHF, telemetry radio, GPS, power sensor, batteries for the platform. This isn't sealed like I did the last time with hot glue on top to make it completely waterproof. I do, and I still did, mount components on the top of that, on the underside, inside of that top, so that water can't get to them. The rest of the rock crawler, which I made into a Rover, completely waterproof. You can run it through a stream. Even the ESC motors, everything are waterproof. I guess I could run it through a stream until the water got up about halfway in that Tupperware container and started getting to the components on the top cover, but I'm not going to do that. So the Rover's back together, works in manual mode fine. I have some programming to do, configuration to do. I'll probably run it out in the field here and see if it will do anything as far as the autopilot is concerned. But basically, we now have the Rover back together, and I just realized one thing last night about the Rover. The FAA can't fine me $10,000-$20,000 for going out of visual line of sight with a ground rover. They have no jurisdiction over vehicles on the ground, only vehicles in the air. I can take this 40 miles away if I wanted to. Doesn't have enough battery capacity for that. People would steal it or destroy it if I ran it 2 miles up the road, but I could. Okay, more on this later. Can't tell you how appreciative I am for your guys watching and any input you might have. Let me change that up a bit. Any positive input that you have.